Good morning, everyone. Happy Easter. Special day, another example of the divine conquering death and arising. I was just thinking I'm kind of removed from the whole Christian traditions now, being, I think, in India for such a long time, but when I was young, growing up, Easter was always, it felt something special, something maybe because of the spring, but it was kind of a time of renewal. Felt some special light coming this time.
I went to the church when I was 15, and for me, Saturday of morning when Jesus resurrected, I always felt for me it's part of resurrection for everybody, not for him. For me, it was always a new start.
Yeah.
And I feel that there's something strong in this day if we really contact that.
Okay, now we're following King Aswapati through the subtle worlds, through the kingdoms and Godheads of the greater life in Canto 6. We read through last time, and now we'll go in greater detail starting on page 183 at the break. So Aswapati has been moving through these kingdoms of the greater life, and he seems to have come across a few different levels, each time kind of a greater light, a greater freedom of life coming forth with each ascent of these different steps in these kingdoms of greater life. So now he's coming to kind of another sub-level here within this in this realm. And so we'll start reading from the break, and perhaps Suresh can begin.
The consciousness lit by a truth above was felt. It saw the light, but not the truth. It caught the idea and built from it a world. It made an image there and called it God as something true, and inward harbored that the beings of that world of greater life. Tenants of a larger air and free space live not by the body of an outward things. A deeper living was the seat of self. In that intense demand of intimacy, objects regarded as companions of the soul. The body's actions are a minor script, the surface rendering of your life within.
Thank you. Let's pause there. This short little section is actually quite packed with a description of this realm. It gives a lot of the character and the details, in a way, of the nature of this realm. And I was looking in Shraddhavan's book, The English of Savitri, and she has a nice kind of description of, explanation of this short passage, and I think it sets the stage kind of for the passages, the pages that we'll read today. So I'll read from this. As King Aswapati moves onward in the kingdoms of the greater life, he feels that it is filled with a consciousness which is lit by a truth which dwells on a higher level. That consciousness can be felt, but the consciousness itself is limited because it sees the light but not the truth, which is casting that light. Instead, it has caught hold of a creative, determining idea. And on the basis of that idea, that creative concept, it has built a world, the world which Aswapati is now discovering. The consciousness that has built that world or realm has also created an image there which it calls God. That image is not the supreme, but a formation, a construction appropriate to that level of consciousness. Nevertheless, although the consciousness of that world is not fully aware of the truth which it is trying to express, still something true and inward harbored there. Something true and inward is dwelling in the core or the heart of that world, as if sheltered and protected there in a safe haven. As a result, the beings of that world of greater life, Sri Aurobindo tells us, are tenants of a larger air and freer space. Tenants are people who are allowed to live in a particular house or area, although it does not belong to them. The beings that inhabit that realm of greater life enjoy a larger air or atmosphere, a freer space. Unlike most of us, those beings live not by the body or in outward things. In our world, we are dependent on our physical bodies to provide a frame for our life force, and our senses are turned outwards. We are preoccupied with outer things to a very great degree. But the beings of the higher life who inhabit that realm are not like that. Their seat, the center of their consciousness, and their sense of self is situated at a much deeper level. The poet describes this realm as an intense domain of intimacy. One of its characteristics is intensity of feeling. It is a world of deep inner emotions and feelings which are accompanied by a sense of intimacy, so that even material objects can live side by side with individual beings as companions of the soul, because there is a connection and intimacy between inner and outer life. This line reminds me of the mother's meditation of March 3rd, 1914. Written when she was preparing to leave her home in Paris and its many familiar and well-loved objects. She wrote, As the day of departure draws near, I turn with a fond solemnity towards all those 1,000 little nothings around us, which have silently, for so many years, played their role of faithful friends. I thank them gratefully for all the charm they were able to give to the outer side of our life. I wish that if they are destined to pass into other hands than ours for any length of time, these hands may be gentle to them and know all the respect that is due to what thy divine love, O Lord, has brought out from the darkened conscience of chaos. With what a sweet intimacy the mother expresses her gratitude to the everyday objects that have surrounded her life for so long, as she prepares to leave them, perhaps forever. Another important characteristic of this realm of greater life is that the body's actions are a minor script, the surface rendering of a life within. This means that the external actions of the body are less important than the movements of the inner being. Outer activity is only a surface expression of the inner life, which is moving and living and acting from within. The body's actions are not of primary importance, less significant than the inner life, of which they are a minor script, which gives only a superficial expression of what is happening within. I think it's a wonderful explanation of the character of that realm and of that short passage. And now Anandi can continue.
All forces of life retinue in that world, and thought and body as her handmaids move. The universal witnesses give her room. All feel the cosmic movement in their acts, and are the instrument of her cosmic might. For their own self, they make their universe. In all who have risen to a greater life, a voice of unborn things whispers to the ear. Their eyes visited by some high sunlight, aspiration shows them image of a crown, to work out the seed that she has thrown within. To achieve her power, in them her creatures live. Each is a greatness growing towards the heights, or from its inner center oceans out. In cycling ripples of concentric power, they swallow, gladden their environment.
Thank you. Let's pause. So in these first lines, Sri Aurobindo is telling us that The life motives, the life energies are prominent in this realm, and thought and body, as her handmaids move. That is, they are attendants or helpers of this life force to give it expression. And there's a sense of the universal life force behind all the expressions of life here. The beings there sense this greater power, this universal power within, expressing itself through them. All feel the cosmic movement in their acts and are the instruments of her cosmic might. So there's a sense of much greater, wider power flowing through all the beings and the forces in that world.
Isn't that expression like in overlines, like everyone has its own space?
Yeah, but this isn't a realm of the overmind yet. It's a much lower realm in the life plane, in the vital planes. There is that sense that in the overmind, the beings can create their kind of world.
Yeah, and they are aware that something oneness is behind also the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but there isn't that complete identification, that complete awareness here. They have a sense of this greater power flowing through, but they're not really fully conscious of all of that. And then in the next lines also, he's expressing that although they may feel this greater power surging through, they may also kind of identify it as being their own. So to grasp it in a kind of an egoistic sense. So he says, or their own self, they make their universe. So they're kind of sense that they're at the center of that force, that it belongs to them in a sense. And he says, in all who have risen to a greater life, a voice of unborn things whispers to the ear. So also they have a sense of higher possibility being manifested through them. To their eyes visited by some high sunlight, aspiration shows the image of a crown. So they sense the higher possibilities to which they can also aspire, and that are maybe seeking for expression also through them. To work out a seed that she has thrown within, to achieve her power in them, her creatures live. And here again, he'll go back to these two different aspects that it can take within these beings. Each is a greatness growing towards the heights, or from his inner center, oceans out. So they can either feel themselves growing towards something higher above, or from within they feel this power surging forth. Encircling ripples of concentric power, they swallow, glutted their environment. So again, they're kind of identifying with this power and then swallowing up all that is around them as if that belongs to them So it's kind of an egoistic center of consciousness, but very powerful and wide and encompassing the environment and taking within itself that environment. And Arta?
Even of that largeness many a cabin make. In narrowed breadth and briefer vista spent, they live content with some small greatness won, to rule the little empire of themselves, to be a figure in their private world, and make the milieu's joys and grief their own, and satisfy their life's motives and life wants. Is charge enough and office for their strength, a steward of a person and his fate. This was transition line and starting point, a first immigration into heaven lines for all who cross into that brilliant sphere. These are the kinsmen of our earthly race. This region borders on our mortal state.
Thank you. So again, Sri Aurobindo suggests that even though there is this expression of greater power and maybe a sense of this universal power flowing through them, even in that state, they may create just a little empire for themselves in which to live. So they encircle it and call it their own, in a sense, claim it in an egoistic way. So even of that largeness, many a cabin make. So they make it into their own house. It's a kind of small house. In narrower breadth and briefer vistas pent, they live content with some small greatness won. So they claim that expression of life energy as their own and live within it. To rule the little empire of themselves, to be a figure in their private world, and make the milieu's joys and griefs their own, and satisfy their life motives and life wants, is charge enough and office for this strength. A steward of the person and his fate, suggesting that they're identifying with not the true individual person, but with a steward, with someone who stands in for the person, for the true self. This was transition line and starting point, a first immigration into heavenliness. And then he suggests that they have this close association with our own world and with the beings of our world. These are the kinsmen of our earthly race. This region borders on our mortal state. Throughout the canto, Sri Aurobindo is interspersing his descriptions of this world with its influences upon our world. So he's saying here also, this finds expression here in our world. We also have our beings that accumulate some power and then call it their own and make a little world for themselves here, a little kingdom in which they're king and in control of that little empire. And I suppose we could also say it also affects all of us. It's not just those few rare individuals who may be very powerful, but also we have our own little kingdoms that we operate in, that we control in our personal life. So we'll continue.
This wider world, our greater movements gives, strong formations build our growing selves. These creatures are our brighter replicates, complete the types we only initiate, and are securely what we strive to be, as if though our eternal characters entire, not pulled as we by contrary ties. They follow the unseen leader in the heart. Their lives obey the inner nature's law. There is kept grandeur's store, the hero's mold. The soul is the watchful builder of its fate. None is a spirit indifferent and inert. They choose their side. They see the God they adore. A battle is joined between the true and false. A pilgrimage sets out to the divine light.
Thank you. Let's pause. Aurobindo is showing again this relation between this world and our world. And here he seems to be suggesting that they are kind of archetypes of the beings in our world, that they express in a more complete and full manner things that we try to express here. The ideal types, in a sense, are there, and then we give some kind of expression to those types, but not so purely here in our world. Its creatures are our brighter replicas, complete the types we only initiate, and are securely what we strive to be. And then, as if thought out, eternal characters, entire, not pulled as we by contrary tides. They follow the unseen leader in the heart. They express that type in a more powerful and pure way. Here in our world, we're pulled by all different types of forces. And so we're not complete, identified with one particular type as they are there. So from within, they sense this power within, and they give that expression. They follow the unseen leader in the heart. Their lives obey the inner nature's law. Also, we're pulled outside. We're so identified with the physical, and so with the physical world around us, that we're preoccupied with that. But they are not. The outer physical or subtle physical in that realm is more just an expression giving some form to the inner force, the inner life force that is surging out from within. And they're more identified with that inner force and not so much with that outer form in which it takes. So there is kept the grandeurs store, the hero's mold. The soul is the watchful builder of its fate. None is a spirit indifferent and inert. They're more identified with that inner power within them, which they're giving expression to. So they choose their side. They see the God they adore. They sense more clearly that force within them which is seeking expression. And there, a battle is joined between the true and false. And pilgrimage sets out to the divine light. So they may be giving expression also to these darker forces. They choose their sides.
When it comes to the question of, it is one of the levels of existence, you know?
Yeah.
And in these chapters before, we spoke about how we went through all these levels. And we went to this level also, or touched it and go back, or what is the...
Yeah, he seems to sometimes step back and look at a particular, he may go from level to level and then step back and look at a series of different levels and characterize them in general. To some extent, he seems to be doing that. But as we look at the progression through this canto, these different sections that we've gone through, it seems that he's gone to a couple of different levels of this kingdom of greater life. And this is a little bit higher level than some of the ones he was describing earlier, it seems to me.
Yeah. The question is also, in our own evolutions, are we going through this level?
In our evolution. Yes, all these different worlds are playing here in our world, kind of simultaneously. So we feel influences from this world. We will be expressing some of the forces, the tendencies, the characteristics of this world in our own life. But we will also be feeling influences from lower levels of life, from the more instinctual bases, those kind of forces. And we may also be experiencing descents of higher spiritual light, and that also we may be trying to give expression in our life. So all these different forces find some entry here in our world and in our lives. So yes, in a certain sense, we are evolving step by step, but it's not a clear progression where we're only at one level, because those higher levels are also operating, even at the lower stage of evolution. In a general sense, there is a progression, but there's always this mixture of forces coming. In this world, there's a greater purity where the one type is expressed more fully just in its own character.
They say a battery is joined.
So there are forces, cosmic forces working at this level, forces of the greater life. Some of these are dark forces, some of them are light forces.
Yeah, it's just the choice of word that the battle usually people don't join a big fight.
Well, there is a battle going on between these forces of light and darkness in this world. So he's saying also that there is this pilgrimage towards the light. So there is a movement towards greater light expressed by some of the beings there, and there are also forces and beings that are opposed to that progression. Okay.
No, I just wanted the battle is a fight.
A battle is a fight.
To join battle.
Joining the battle.
It's an English expression.
Yeah.
It's just an order, they say to join battle for some reason.
They come together in battle. So, Jerry?
For even ignorance there aspires to know, and shines with the luster of a distant star. There is a knowledge in the heart of sleep, and nature comes to them as a conscious force. An ideal is their leader and their king, aspiring to the monarchy of the sun. They call in truth for their high government, hold their incarnate in their daily acts, and fill their thoughts with their inspired voice, and shape their lives into their breathing form, till in their sun-gold Godhead they too share.
Thank you. So here he's describing more these forces of light on their pilgrimage towards the divine light. And they're looking towards the divine, towards the truth. An ideal is their leader and their king, aspiring to the monarchy of the sun. They call in truth for their high government, hold her incarnate in their daily acts, and fill their thoughts with her inspired voice, and shape their lives into her breathing form, till in her sun-gold Godhead they too share. It's really this aspiration towards the truth, towards the light, which we also sense here in our world and may experience something of this. There they express it in a very, these beings in a very kind of pure manner, very powerful manner. We may do it one day and then the next day forget to. So we continue, B.
Or to the truth of darkness they subscribe. Whether for heaven or hell, they must wage war. Warriors of the good, they serve a shining cause. Or are evil soldiers in the pay of sin. For evil and good an equal tenure keep. Wherever knowledge is ignorance's twin, all powers of life towards their Godhead tend, in the wideness and the daring of that air. Each builds its temple and expands its cult, and sin too there is a divinity, affirming the beauty and splendor of her law. She claims life as her natural domain, assumes the world's throne, or dons the papal robe. Her worshippers proclaim her sacred right. The red-tiared falsehood they revere worship the shadow of a crooked god, amid the black idea that twists the brain, or lie with the harlot power that slays the soul.
Thank you. So here Sri Aurobindo describes the other side, the beings who are expressing these powers of darkness, of falsehood, of evil. And the powers there come out in their purity. It's not very subtle, so they have to they choose which side they're on.
What is tenure? Tenure?
Tenure? For evil or good, an equal tenure keep. Time contract. Time contract, she says. When you get tenure in a university post, then you have kind of a lifelong appointment. And here he seems to throw a little aspersion on the church.
And in politics, he puts them both together. Are the world strong or the people strong? So politics and religion is like that.
Yeah.
It's like in our world.
Yeah, he's with those examples, he's showing its relation to our world. Red tiara'd falsehood.
Can you speak a little bit about all powers of life towards their Godhead?
Yeah, all the powers there tend towards their extremes, towards their original sources. So they give a stark expression, typically, of those forces. So that's what he's describing here, either for good or evil, for light or darkness. There's a clear line drawn between the different forces because they're going towards their extremes.
But aren't we doing the same?
Yeah, exactly. That's what we feel kind of happening here now, too. Yeah.
That's making the problem greater than smaller. So
Greater, but also clearer.
Yes.
Yeah.
in our opinion, that's the problem.
Yeah.
I'm speaking about here, but what is coming here? So there's such a division.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting that.
What level of consciousness is this part written? Because it's not coming together, it is not binding, it's not giving understanding, it's saying this is better.
So, yeah, it takes us further away in the sense of integration of.
Exactly. So that was very intelligent.
He put this red tiara on also, that's the red hats and things that the Cardinals wear.
Well, that's what I thought. When I looked it up, it says a richly jeweled coronet or crown, a small crown.
It's also that.
Maybe. Yeah, I always thought of these, kind of bishops with these red tiara hats.
So what makes me think is why knowledge and ignorance are twins.
Yeah, because the world they are composed of knowledge and ignorance. There's the light and the darkness are twinned. They both have entry into that world. And so both are finding expression there. It's not a world of pure light or pure knowledge. There's light and there's shadow.
So knowledge represents science in our world, and ignorance represents the people.
That's one way of putting it. Those are expressions of that, perhaps. But he's using them with capital letters here, so he's again kind of making them as principles, maybe that origin from which they come. The higher spiritual knowledge, which is a complete knowledge, and the ignorance, which is also a division, complete division of knowledge into separate pieces.
That's why I think one of the it said that the one who rejects the ignorance and goes to the knowledge ends up in greater ignorance, greater darkness.
Yeah.
And to rise above that darkness, you have to go up still above and see both the darkness and the light as well.
Right. That's a little bit what Jerry is referring to also.
So we all stay ignorant.
Yeah, that higher integration is not found here in this kingdom of greater life. That's one of the limitations of it. So that greater integration is found only above, higher, in the higher consciousness.
But science also is an opinion.
Yes.
Yeah, it believes that its laws are true, but they are purely material, and science does not know there is a higher truth, which is not at all its truth.
So let's say they are both our limitations.
So he goes, Sohini, would you continue? You have the place.
A mastering virtue, statues, how do you say that word?
Statuesque.
Statuesque. The pose, or a Titan passion goes to a proud unrest. At wisdom's altar, they are kings and priests, or their life a sacrifice to an idol of power. Or beauty shines on them like a wandering star, too far to reach, passionate they follow her light. In art and life they catch the all beautiful's ray and make the world their radiant treasure house. Even common figures are with marvel robbed, a charm and greatness locked in every hour, awakes the joy which sleeps in all things made. A mighty victory or a mighty fall, a throne in heaven or a pit in hell, the dual energy they have justified and marked their souls with a tremendous seal. Whatever fate may do to them, they have entered. Something they have done, something they have been, they live.
Thank you. he brings out the duality of these powers of light and darkness here. In this first line, he says, a mastering virtue statuesques the pose. Now, statuesques means like or suggesting a statue. Here, Sri Aurobindo has turned it into a verb, so he's kind of coined a new word here, because normally it's an adjective or an adverb. So, a mastering virtue, so they strike the pose of a particular virtue and act, as if that's what they are, express it like a statue, assume that pose. Or a Titan passion goads, prods to a proud unrest. So two different expressions of the energies here. At wisdom's altar, they are kings and priests, or their life a sacrifice to an idol of power. So they may stand at the altar as a king or priest at wisdom's altar, or they may sacrifice their life to an idol of power, a form of power. Or beauty shines on them like a wandering star. They feel this higher beauty from above shining, but too far to reach. Passionate, they follow the light. They sense this beauty, great beauty, which is difficult to seize, but they follow it. Try to find it, give it expression. In art and life, they catch the all-beautiful's ray and make the world their radiant treasure house. They try to embody that beauty in the world, in their life, in their home. Even common figures are with marvel robed due to that all beautiful. A charm and greatness locked in every hour awakes the joy which sleeps in all things made. A mighty victory or a mighty fall, a throne in heaven or a pit in hell. The dual energy they have justified and marked their souls with her tremendous seal. Whatever fate may do to them, they have earned. Something they have done. Something they have been. They live. So these two powerful energies there are vying for control, and the beings align themselves with one or the other. And because the energies are expressed so powerfully, so purely in their own manner, that the distinction is so clear that the beings there have to subscribe to one or the other. And so they bear the responsibility for that choice.
My question is, when they are both false, when they are connected with their religion, is the energy similar?
ultimately, the energies may come from the same source, but the energies are very different in their character. Perhaps it's exactly what these energies are in a metaphysical sense, but perhaps we could think of it as a kind of a descending energy going towards darkness and an ascending energy going towards the light. And that intertwining of these energies, in a sense, creates the world, the universe.
Is the divine force?
Huh?
Is there the divine mind?
It's just a thought. I don't know.
Going through the various levels, as it goes down, then it meets these resistances, and then it divides. So we're in the division that Jerry's always talking about. Exactly.
It happens even from the level of gods. That's why she opens it only supramentally or one, even low directly inside.
So the forces get divided in the overmind, perhaps. I don't know. But anyway, we see that there are these two energies. One going towards darkness, towards division. One going towards light. Both forces are there in this world. Both forces are here in our world. Now, both forces are necessary to the manifestation. If there weren't the division, there would be no world. There would be no manifestation into form. But along the way, perhaps that's what you're saying, along the way maybe they get deviated in various directions.
That's the deviation of our consciousness, isn't it? Because good and evil, right and wrong, all of that is a mental bifurcation that happens because we're disjunctive beings. So we divide it, but it's not divided because we are co-creators with the energy. Right? I don't know.
I don't know either.
Bring it out there.
Okay.
Maybe another way of looking at it is that Auroville is writing about matter, getting consciousness in matter. So the matter we are looking at as is not so conscious, and therefore it has to be matter.
Yeah.
So we are on that development to the absolute consciousness where it originally is coming from. So, and in that development stage, Auroville is writing about very much. We reach a certain stage that we have to learn because there are so many divisions in our feelings, in our thoughts, and so on. But in the end, there is no darkness. Even if it's meant as darkness, it's something that's coming from the divine, but that's necessary for our development. It's necessary.
Okay.
So it has no sense to blame, but it's very much sense to understand what kind of development we are together.
Okay. We'll continue. Tom? Let's continue.
What line are we on?
Their matter is the soul's.
Their matter is soul's result and not its cause. In a contrary balance to earth's truth of things, the gross weighs less, the subtle counts for more. On inner values hangs the outer plan. As quivers the thought with the expressive word, as yearns the act with the passion of the soul, this world's apparent sensible design looks vibrant back to some interior might. A mind not limited by external sense gave figures to the spirit's imponderables, the world's impacts without channels registered, and turned into the body's concrete thrill the vivid workings of a bodiless force. Powers here subliminal that act unseen, or in ambush crouch waiting behind the wall, came out in front uncovering their face. The occult grew there overt, the obvious kept a covert turn and shouldered the unknown. The unseen was felt and jostled visible shapes.
Thank you. Here, Sri Aurobindo is again showing a certain contrast between that world and our world, whereas the inner forces there, the life force, has a greater predominance, whereas in our world, it's matter that has the greater predominance. So there, what comes from within, from this force of life from deep within, comes out in a greater fullness and power. So there, matter is soul's result and not its cause. So matter there is more expressive of the soul. Here in our world, it more hides the soul, and the soul has to struggle to come out and express itself in matter. So then a contrary balance to earth's truth of things, the gross, the more physical, weighs less, the subtle counts for more. On inner values hangs the outer plan. As quivers with the thought, the expressive word, as yearns the act with the passion of the soul, this world's apparent sensible design looks vibrant back to some interior light. So the thought, the act are vibrating with that inner force, the inner soul within. A mind not limited by external sense gave figures to the spirit's imponderables, those abstract truths. It begins to express those more clearly, because it's not deceived by the outer appearances of things. And even the body vibrates more with the force within. Turn the body's concrete thrill, the vivid workings of a bodiless force. Here there were powers here subliminal that act unseen or ambush. The powers that in our world are subliminal, that are hidden within and act unseen or in ambush crouch, waiting behind the wall. They crouching, hidden within interior parts of our subconscious, and then crouch and take over our actions all of a sudden. We don't see it coming. There came out in front, uncovering their face. There, those hidden forces are come out in the open. The covert turn, a covert turn, no. The occult grew there overt. The obvious kept a covert turn and shouldered the unknown. So even the obvious expression on the outside kept something of that inner covert turn, of that inner force that's seeking expression. And it shouldered, it held something of the unknown. The unseen was felt and jostled visible shapes. Sudanya?
In the communion of true meeting mind, thought looked at thought and had no need of space. Emotion claps emotions in two hearts. They felt each other's thrill in the flesh and nerves, or melted each in age and grew immense, as when two houses burn and fire joins fire. Head grappled head, and love broke in on love, will wrestle with will on mind's invisible ground. Other sensation passing through like waves, left quivering the subtle body's frame, their anger rushed galloping in brute attack. A charge of trampling hoofs on shaken soil, one felt another's grip invade the breast. Another joy exalting ran through the blood. Hearts could draw close to distance, voices near, that spoke upon the shore of alien seas.
Thank you. Earlier at the beginning, there was that line. In that intense domain of intimacy, objects dwell as companions of the soul. And I had read Shraddhavan's description of this and Mother's letter in which she describes this intimacy that she felt with the material objects in her life. In this passage, he's talking about this intimacy that's felt between beings at the emotional level, at the level of thought. There is this close interchange, not like here where we're divided by these physical bodies We can't really know the thoughts that are in your head or.
I can see it's also possible here, especially with mother and a small child, and also with I have a sister, she's 1.5 years younger than me. And we had been for quite a time could get the thoughts and feelings and all of this.
Yeah, it does find some expression here, but it's more, let's say, rare or special when it happens. But there, it's kind of, I think, the normal way. There's just, the walls of the body are not so firm. They have subtle physical form which give free and quite vivid expression of the inner thoughts and the inner feelings. So everything is more out in the open.
I think it's there in everyone. It's just latent. There's nothing it's there. It's latent, not developed. And for people who are very sensitive or who are very loved, they can easily even express themselves. It's always there. Just like
Yeah, I think that's.
every person, I think it's
Yeah, that's good to remember that we can also develop those capacities more. To some extent, it comes through that kind of the refinement also of the emotions and the thought, that it becomes less rigid and more flexible, more sensitive to others. Not so much fixed in one's own thought, one's own feeling, but attuned to others. But all of that can be developed.
Do you think it's also that these archetypal subtle forces reinforce each other to get the power? That they're one, they're much more. So the two fires join. So this builds up the force in that world we experience at the moment.
Maybe.
Yes, I think it is already in us. This is focused very much from, it's coming from outside of us. But we are really inside of us. When you see little child children playing, it's much more connected. They're freedom. So it's not only developing something from outside, it's something in all of us. Right? We all want to connect. That's our ground of being.
Yeah, in a sense, I would say that the psychic being has these qualities also. It senses the oneness among people, ourselves with others, ourselves with the world. And as we connect more and more with our soul, with our psychic being, then we experience that greater intimacy with others and with the world around us. It's just the matter that normally our souls, our psychic being, it's more buried. We have to dig a little bit in order to get to that. Whereas here, those powers just kind of flow out quite naturally.
Our psychic being is that right, our soul that is growing.
Yeah.
And I think the direction it is growing, it's coming from even something deeper in us. We know where we want to go to. But we have to listen very much internally, like we really want to go. So, and putting these forces outside is dangerous, because then the beliefs and religions. We have to explore our inner being, beyond the psychic being. Psychic being is growing. in a certain direction. You look at yourself, you can feel it, you can see it. What is really what you want to be and where you want to go to. There's nothing that is outside the divine. The divine created all of us and all these forces out of itself. So let's take that as a reality. So the divine is in us, and it's not egoistic, by the way. To share and to be, to combine and to love each other is not egoistic. It's only at a certain level. But we have to grow by looking inside. And not so much outside. Because everything that is outside is also inside.
Okay, I think we'll leave it.
Jostle, what does it mean? Jostled visible shapes.
Jostled. That means like when you're in a crowd and you're moving through and you're kind of bumping into everything around you. So I think we will stop there for today. Thanks to Sri Aurobindo.